everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Emily, and for those of you who may be new here, I am a professional hair and makeup artist. Today's video is geared more towards those of you who are actually in the hair industry. Fellow hairstylists, this video is one that you're going to want to definitely stick around for. If you are not a hairstylist, this might still be something that you want to check out because it may be insightful as far as a consultation goes. It'll give you a perspective of what a hairstylist is needing to ask you, and from the client perspective, it could give you a little bit of insight on kind of what to be prepared to answer as far as the consultation portion of your hair appointment. Today's video, we are talking all about consultations. Proper consultation at the beginning of a hair appointment is so very important. I cannot emphasize that enough, that the consultation is the most important part of the actual hair appointment. Yeah, the actual application and technique and color and all that stuff that is used is very important as well. But if we aren't on the same page, we don't have a roadmap of what we're gonna do, we don't have realistic expectations laid out on the table, it just really is important to have a really good consultation that is really thorough and gets everything that is needed out on the table right at the beginning of an appointment, because honestly, it makes that appointment just go so much smoother if the consultation is really dialed in. Whether that person in your chair is sitting there for the very first time, or they've been coming to you, let's say, every 6 weeks for the past however many years, consultation for both of these scenarios is just as important. The consultation is really just gonna make sure that you and your client are on the same page. As a hairstylist, you always wanna make sure that that guest in your chair is gonna be absolutely comfortable with the entire process. You have to understand from a client's perspective, they actually might be quite nervous coming into you or uneasy. Maybe they had a bad experience in the past. And if you don't take that extra time to really focus and have a communication and discussion on what is expected to take place during that appointment, it's not gonna make them feel any more comfortable if you just sit them down. Oh, you like highlights? Okay, cool. Warm tone, cool tone? Okay, cool. Sounds good. Blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna go mix up. Bye. I get it. There are some hairstylists out there that are getting that money. They are in and out, in and out, in and out. Sit you down, do your hair, get you out the door, and they collect that check. That is fine. That's just not my style. Even with my clients who have been coming to me for years, I take the time at the beginning of every single appointment to make sure that they're happy and kind of just go across a general kind of checklist to just make sure that we're on the same page. I feel like it's even more important, obviously, with a new guest because you have no idea who this person is, what their lifestyle habits are, what their hair is like, what their health is like. You really have to just take that time, especially with a new guest, just to kind of put them at ease that they're in good hands. And I know a lot of people will just be like, oh, I found somebody on Instagram, they had a great reputation, and then I went and the hair looked great, but they maybe just weren't my cup of tea as far as personality goes or this and that. And I feel like a lot of that does come down to how the appointment is even started. If they take the time to really get to know this person, figure out their needs, figure out their problem areas, figure out what they struggle with or what they're really excelling at with their hair, and how are you there to help them is the biggest part of any appointment. First things first, you're gonna wanna get on eye level with your guest because it automatically just puts people at ease. If I crouch down, I kind of put my arm up on my vanity, we're just kind of chatting. It just takes it a level down versus me standing behind them, looking over them at the mirror, discussing their hair. Whereas if I actually face them one-on-one directly, crouch down, get eye level, it just automatically puts us on a level playing field, and just generally it just puts people at ease to have that kind of body language towards them. The reason I want my client to feel super relaxed is because the more relaxed that they are, the more trusting and the more comfortable they are going to be with sharing information. And what is the most important thing as a hairstylist that we need to get out of our new clients? Information on their hair history, their habits, products they use, all of that stuff. Crouching down and having that conversation more one-on-one directly, as if we're just kind of sitting on the couch or in two chairs together versus standing over one another, it definitely makes it a lot easier to communicate that way and just automatically makes them feel just that much more comfortable. One thing that you definitely don't want to do is just breeze through the consultation, go mix up the same thing that you always mix up for that guest, because you're missing out on the opportunity to solve a problem that they maybe have. And if you're not asking any of these questions, how are you gonna ever know? And not everyone is open and confident enough to speak up for themselves, to be like, hey, that regrowth color you did last time, I liked it, but maybe we should add a little bit more dimension. Or I don't really like that color or tone, could we maybe change it up? I feel like it's easy to kind of fall in that rut as a hairstylist of like getting through the day sometimes of just like, I just need to get this color on this person. There are those times when it is just like, it's exhausting and it's a lot of work, but every guest should be treated the same as if it's their first visit with you. Doing that full consultation gives them the opportunity to speak up, maybe if they weren't planning on it, but you go, hey, did you like that base color we did last time? How's that been working out for you? And it gives them an opportunity to even speak on it versus just being like, how's your hair working out? Good? Good. I'm gonna go mix up BRB. So just kind of taking that extra time to question them, how they're liking their hair, etc. Even if they're a guest that you've done a million times at this point, it gives them the opportunity to speak up without having to bring it up out of nowhere. It just gives them the opportunity to do that, which in turn then of course makes us better at our job for being able to listen and make changes to make our guests completely happy. We all know that the easiest way for a client to leave us is if they're bored. We're not offering them anything new or solving any of their hair problems. People are bored, you're not doing anything for them to change that or keep that dialogue and conversation open, they're gonna go find somebody else. And that's just straight facts. When you're getting to know them, you know, a little bit about their day-to-day, what is their routine like? How often do they shampoo their hair? What kind of shampoo are they using? Do they use any take-home products? Do they have any aftercare? Is their main concern gray coverage, or do they like having their natural color coming through and just want to blend it a little bit? Do they blow dry their hair every day? What kind of styling products are they using? Are they going to bed with their hair wet? Are they having any styling issues with it? These are just kind of the open-ended questions that we need to be asking our guests, especially open-ended, because you don't want to ask questions where they just go, yes, no, I don't know. You want to ask questions that make them go, well, I've been having an issue with this part right here, da 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 da. You get what I'm saying. You want to ask questions that will allow them to expand and give you insight on ways that you could solve those problems. After you get through kind of those basic questions of kind of laying out a little bit of the roadmap of what they want, what their lifestyle is like, typically a photo is very common with my guests, at least having a reference photo that they are bringing it into you as a hairstylist saying, hey, here's a photo that I found online. I really like that and I want it on me. A tip that I found a long time ago from Gina Bianca, who is an amazing, amazing educator in the hair world. And Gina one time suggested when you have a color that they are showing you, take your own phone out, take a photo of their current hair. So then as you are discussing the steps that it's going to take to get from their current hair to that after photo, you are able to give them a visualization of how much work it's going to take. So for example, my client comes in and they show me this beautiful red auburn balayage, okay? It's like a red-brown base with like these highlights and like beautiful balayage throughout it with kind of that auburn tone to it, and they are my color. That's a big drastic change. So what will help is to be like, okay, you are platinum blonde here, or you are really blonde, dimensional, that's great to our advantage, but you're really blonde, and to get to this, here are the steps it's gonna take. And it's nice to have that visual comparing what they currently have. So they can actually see side by side that it's magic if we get there. You know what I mean? Like it just helps drive home that it's not just like putting color on and it's done. It's like we have to go in the back room, come up with a plan, do all this chemistry and formulating to get you from point A to point B. I think sometimes people don't really understand where their before photo on themselves actually is and where they're actually starting and what it would require to get them to that after photo. So I really think being able to show them visually their hair sitting in your chair and the after, so you can go, this is why this won't happen today, or this is why this is gonna cost X amount of dollars today. It's really been helpful, and that's one thing that I find really helpful, especially in the days of TikTok and Pinterest and all of these reference photos that we get brought into us as hairstylists. I feel like showing them their current hair right next to it really helps me navigate all of that in between of talking about pricing and process and steps that would be required, and also the length of time it's going to take you to achieve that. I would say taking a photo of their current hair while you're discussing that after photo is so beneficial, and it's pretty awesome to do. So I definitely recommend giving that a try. Also, very, very, very important, since we're on the topic of color, during your consultation, I feel like a lot of people tend to focus on color because that's the bigger thing of having to go mix up and formulate and all that stuff. But I think sometimes hairstylists can forget that the haircut is just as important, and if not more important, to talk about at the very, very beginning of the consultation, because obviously the color is going to look very different depending on how the hair is cut. And also, nobody wants to ever color hair that they're going to end up cutting it off at the end of the appointment. So definitely asking your client, are you doing a major transformation haircut today? Are we adding layers? Are we adding bangs? If I were to do all these foils up here on a client with really, really dark hair, and then at the end of the appointment, they were like, oh, I want bangs. If I cut bangs on them, they would have weird placed foils and highlights, and the color just would not look good. So it's very important at the very beginning of your consultation to figure out what is the plan for the haircut. And that goes hand in hand with the color. And obviously it helps if you know kind of a general idea of both the cut and the color that they're looking for. You can help explain why you would do things differently, why it works, why it would work for them, etc. So haircut, don't forget about that, because that could be a sneaky little one that can bite you in the butt. So make sure you talk about haircuts during your consultation. When it comes to discussing hair goals, pricing, the process it's going to take to get there, you also really need to touch on take-home care. It's really important to explain to a client at the beginning of the consultation that if they're doing something very specific that is going to require either in between appointments, at home products, toning products, that kind of stuff, that you kind of wrap that all into the consultation, because some people might change their mind on what they're thinking that they want because they're just not educated on that, and they don't realize, oh, if I do a full foil, I'm gonna have to come back every 6 weeks, or come back in between like every 4 weeks and get a toner to keep me really ashy if that's what I want, or this and that. So also explaining to your client, okay, here's what we're gonna do today, but also I'm gonna recommend, since your ends are a little bit dry, we've gone through a big chemical process today, at the end of this, I am gonna recommend products for you to take home to maintain your color. And also, these are the things that you should do as far as shampoo and conditioner, etc. Take home care is very important, and I will already start talking about that at the very beginning part of my appointment with someone during the consultation. I know that this can feel quite involved and that it's a lot. It's definitely a big chunk of my appointments. I tend to probably spend a good 15 minutes at least at the beginning of my appointment having a consultation with my clients, because in my opinion, the more that I take the time at the very beginning means I have a better chance of nailing it. You know what I mean? The more that I set myself up for success at the very beginning with the communication of what we're gonna do, make sure expectations are gonna be realistic to begin with so I can actually meet those expectations. To me, that in turn means my client's gonna be happier overall. It's gonna be a better experience for them without all these questions of not knowing what I'm gonna be doing. And not only that, the happier that your client is, the more likely they are going to be sending family and friends your way. And there's nothing better than that, than getting a first-hand referral from somebody who you already have as a client to send their closest loved ones to you. That is the biggest compliment and the best case scenario when it comes to being a hairstylist. So those are the reasons why I feel like it's very important to put a lot of emphasis on that consultation. I know we can fall into our old habits, feel down or exhausted some days and kind of go through the motions or skip steps, but it's very important to nail that consultation at the beginning of the appointment, and trust me, it'll pay off in the end. I hope this video helped you understand why the consultation portion of your appointment with your client is probably the most important part. And I hope you found it helpful. Like I said, comment down below if you have any questions, or if you also have a suggestion for any other future videos you would like to see. Thanks guys, I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next week.